Hi, everybody. Thank you for your patience while we deal with technical stuff. And we do have a quorum, and so I will call the meeting to order at 6:07. And we can do roll call.
David Martin.
Debbie Guerra.
Craig Hutbader.
Cheryl Mann.
Todd Barrow.
McCulkey.
Kelly Tarbell.
Lane Millington.
And online we have Katie Kay, Katie Benson, Amber, and Lisa.
And we have somebody coming in person, so they'd be here in a few seconds.
Yes. Is the door unlocked?
Nope.
Okay. And we're going to get the door unlocked for you, Katie.
Shut.
Okay. Julie's going to join too. She's driving back from Burlington. So she said she'll be about 15 or 20 minutes late.
Yeah, she emailed me. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So I would look for a motion to approve the agenda.
You're gonna do your ad, executive session.
Oh, yeah. And we would do an additional, you had one on here, right? Where am I looking? An additional executive session, thank you, to discuss, is that
Labor negotiations.
labor negotiations? There you go. I didn't know which one was on there. Sorry.
So I have a question about the agenda, only whether we should discuss the need to get another Ludlow member or does that fit under something else?
It's on here, isn't it?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
put it out a few
Sorry.
times. We don't get a lot of takers,
Okay,
like any.
all right,
But yes, you are not wrong.
okay.
So I would look for a motion to add an executive session for labor negotiations
And approve the agenda.
and approve the agenda. Thank you.
I'll move that. yes.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jen.
Where are you?
I figured we would just do it with the other executive session under 10, 11, 12. Thank you. All right. Any discussion about the agenda? All those in favors of approving the agenda as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you. All right. Approval of meeting minutes from September 10th, 2025.
I move we approve them.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion about the meeting minutes? Amber?
Under community input, public comment, I neglected to delete the word none at the start of that when I started typing the community or public input. So I would ask that you delete that.
Oh,
Delete the word none.
I don't see it on our copy. Oh,
Oh, maybe.
oh, got you. No, I was looking in the wrong spot. I was looking at the last one. Got you. Thank you. Yep, now I see it.
So you can approve it with that change.
What's that?
You can ask for motion to approve with that change.
Yeah.
And this is Caitlin Benson. I was not here for that, so I will accuse myself from the vote.
Thank you. You were busy?
Just a little bit.
Okay, so Dave, you made the motion to approve. Will you
Right.
amend your motion to?
Okay. The minutes as amended.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Feel like discombobulated tonight.
Dr. We second.
What's that?
Dr. We second. The second.
For clarity, let's do it just in case. I don't know.
The agenda does.
The amended agenda. All right, amended minutes. So just to be clear, we have a motion by Dave and a second by Jen to approve the meeting minutes as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And Katie Benson recuses herself. Thank you. Public comment.
Lisa's public.
Yeah, please. Hearing none, I would move to board member comments. I will say that I did fill out the survey. I might have been a little cranky. I would be willing to, I don't know if it's appropriate to read it. I don't want to take all that time if it's not necessary. But I felt very weird typing for the board without the board's input.
Right, but the deadline,
But I had no choice, right?
so you didn't really have a choice.
Yeah. And so I don't know, what people feel about that.
But you sent it in, so it should be on the commission's website.
Oh, good. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. So do people feel comfortable then, just if they want to see what I typed? And if you're upset by it, there is probably recourse in some way. I didn't know what else to do, so I filled it out. And I hope I spoke as you guys would.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. District report, superintendent's report.
Focus really on the financial landscape, especially kind of as it relates to Act 73. I did a lot of kind of calculating and research in the last couple of days on this to try to get a feel for what we should be shooting for as a district, and in terms of being able to recommend to the board, a path to follow. So hopefully folks will bear with me a little bit. So there's a $2.7 billion education fund. That's what it costs to fund education in the state of Vermont currently. 1.1 billion is allocated specifically for staff salaries. And so probably the biggest impact on the financial landscape for the coming year is the impact on the education fund from increases in staff salaries. Staff salaries at the state level have increased by 7% over the previous year. Each 1% increase in staff salaries requires the education fund to contribute an additional $12 million. Statewide projections indicate that staff salaries are going to grow by at least 15% over the next 3 years. The next biggest thing impacting the education fund and our financial landscape is healthcare costs. Currently, about $1/3 billion of the education fund fund the health benefits for staff. And healthcare continues to rise in terms of double digits annually. About 5 years ago, the cost of providing benefits to staff members was $17,000. This year, it will be $40,000. So that's a 13% increase on average over the course of the last 5 years. In terms of the negotiation status, as folks know, the Healthcare Commission negotiates healthcare benefits with the state teachers union. They have deferred negotiations, as folks here brought up in a previous meeting, until at least 2027. They are focusing primarily on trying to contain costs through health and wellness programming. So that's kind of what we're working on right now. Unfortunately, that work does not address the main cost drivers. Right now, the main thing that is fueling the double-digit increase in healthcare costs is the cost of prescriptions. Followed closely by the fact that there is a surge in procedures that are happening still from those that were deferred during COVID. So everybody put off major surgeries and major healthcare actions during that time. And so we still have a large surge in folks seeking to have those procedures done now following the COVID epidemic. Another piece that's important to talk about in terms of the financial landscape is inflation. Inflation historically in the New England area for decades was always about 1.6%. It has been about 3% for the last 3 or 4 years, and it is expected to continue at that rate. And so that's going to have a market impact on staff salaries, right? If it's costing people more to buy things, they're going to reasonably expect more in terms of their salaries. Act 73, and this is just a little aside because I don't think people have spoken much about it. Act 73 has an emphasis on reducing educational costs by reducing administrative costs. And the reality is that the research shows that there's going to be very little impact. It actually was the same fallacy they used to sell Act 46 to folks. Across the nation, about 7% of district budgets is spent on administrative costs. In Vermont, it's 6%.
Nationwide was what percent?
7%. State of Vermont, it's 6%.
Somebody trying to get in.
That's just me, sorry.
Sorry.
That when we report people.
So projected savings from Act 173's administrative costs changes is only about 0.9% of the state's $2.7 billion education fund, which means that it's going to save the average taxpayer about $45, right? If you got a $6,000 tax load, your savings from those cuts is going to be $45. The problem is going to be that the administrators, especially at the central office, are pretty much managing federal and state regulations. And those regulations will exist long after we are gone. And so somebody is going to have to pick up that work. So it will either mean that they're going to have to incorporate a middle layer of management, or it's going to trickle down onto the principals and trickle down potentially onto the teachers. So the work's not going to go away. Special education is actually kind of interesting because it's not a real factor this year. Statewide expenditures in special education have declined in recent years, even as the percentage of students receiving these services has increased to a statewide average of nearly 20%. So in the state of Vermont, on average, 20% of the district students are on an IEP. In Vermont, there are several districts whose average is 48%. So when we talk about TRSU as a whole, we're pushing 30-ish%. We're actually nowhere near what the top could be. We're kind of more in the middle of the state, even though it sounds like quite a bit. Other things that are affecting the budget and will probably have some significant impacts over the next year is there are significant costs related to the environmental hazards in school facilities that the state has been requiring folks to address. The PCBs, the lead in drinking water, and the radon exposure, which the state has not been setting aside funding to remediate. They also had the implementation of universal school meals. There is a growing number of people that are retiring, which is accelerating. And so they are taking more and more out of the education fund to meet those pension obligations, which is not where the money is supposed to be coming from. Folks may or may not know this because they snuck it in a few years back. Cheryl, I'm sure, is aware. But they snuck in a payroll tax to fund early education childcare. So we pay 44 cents for every $100 of pay that we provide to our staff. Other costly mandates, we had the flexible pathway programs that came in. You had Act 46 with its consolidation requirements, standards-based report cards. There's actually been about a dozen in the last 10 years. All of them have had significant cost impacts on districts as well as person hour impacts, and none of them have actually showed any benefit now that they've been implemented. And yet they are still there, and we still have to do the work of maintaining them. And I'm going to put my Act 46 warning out because Act 46 is very similar to Act 73. Following the Act 46 implementation, the average cost in terms of salaries and benefits rose by $1,121 per student to be able to support the students under the new structures. Transportation costs increased by $166 per student, and material costs climbed by $88 per student. The Agency of Education was tasked with reporting on Act 46's financial impact, but none of the three reports were ever released publicly, and the final two were never completed. The state never crunched the numbers, but our tax bills certainly have shown its impact. There was a researcher from Yale who took a look at the impact of 146, and based upon some pretty credible findings, Act 46 actually cost the state an additional $110 million. There were no savings, there was no reduction. And so that's the concern, and the reason that I point this out there is Act 73 is basically Act 46 on steroids. Other issue that is out there that has been fairly unaddressed by the state and has a cost factor is the mental health issues that we're seeing, not just in the students, but in the adults that we deal with as well. We have the ability, we have some really capable staff, all the districts do, who are quite able to manage the students with mental health disabilities, but none of us have the specialization to actually be able to fix the problem. And so, those costs associated with that are going to continue to climb over time unless the state actually puts in some programming at the state level to prevent it from happening in the first place. But just kind of overview of where things stand. My recommendation to the board will be level service. So not level funding. Level funding means the same amount that we spent in the previous year. Level service, whatever increases are required to keep doing exactly what we're doing now. Cheryl did a rough estimate, so I'm not going to throw her under the bus because I'm adding a little bit to it, but somewhere in probably the 2.5 to 3% range is what we're looking at as an increase to the overall budget, just to keep things at the level service. Given, especially now that we're starting to see where the negotiations and things are coming at, yeah, which is a good point. So unless there's questions on that whole lot of numbers.
I don't mean to throw you under the bus, but I have a question.
Yeah.
You spoke a lot about the financial impact of 46. In those reports that may or may not have been released to the public as they were supposed to have been, is there any information, or is there information that we can find that's accurate about the student outcomes or lack thereof?
I didn't see anybody do any research, but the decline, I think, is obvious in and of itself. So again, that's why I say there's been a dozen or more things that have been mandated, even outside of Act 46, that schools have been required to do that took an extensive amount of time. I mean, the standards-based report cards alone took most districts 3 years to be able to figure it out, and then another year to try to make it a little bit easier on the parents to be able to understand. There has been no impact at all from that massive program. And there's a dozen programs out there that are like that. And all the state had to do was take a look at the states that had already tried it 10 years earlier, and they would have known. So I think, if I were to make a big recommendation to the legislature, is keep your fingers out of education unless you know what you're doing and unless you've done your research. Yeah, so very good point.
And I had another backhanded comment, but I can't remember it. So if it comes back to me, I'll be sure to say it.
Is there anything we can do about 46? I mean, besides call and email our legislators and demand that the reports are made public, what can we do about this?
I think the bigger worry right now is 73, right? Because it's basically doing on a larger level, larger scale of what Act 46 did. I did have the opportunity to meet with a group in Jamaica, Vermont yesterday with two senators there who are the co-chairs of the redistricting committee. And what was nice to hear was that my interpretation was that they didn't feel that this was going to fix anything. They didn't feel that there were going to be cost savings. And their strongest feeling was that the legislature needed to act to, in their words, slow things down. That they should not be moving in this direction until people have had time to actually crunch data, look at numbers, and be reasonably assured that these changes are going to have the impact they're intended to impact before anything is done. And I give them credit. They called a bunch of us down that had been crunching some numbers just to see what we were coming up with. And the feeling is because the state has not provided that. They really have not done their homework in rushing this through. I don't have a problem with them fixing taxes. It needs to be done, but there's smarter and better ways to do it.
And 73 is completely separate from 454. 73 was already signed into law and
don't quote me, but I believe 454 was the original bill that morphed into 73.
Yeah.
Assembly,
Okay.
House Bill 454, it was called, and then when the governor signed it,
Then
it becomes Act 73.
Gotcha.
And Act 46 is the one that put these districts here for you folks together, as well as resulted in potentially the closing of your Black River High School when it happened. So,
No, but obviously Act 73 is proceeding on the assumption that that Act 40, this consolidation that we happened before was a good thing, for whatever reason.
yeah.
And as you say, there's no evidence. And I'm only add that it would be a hard, so much has changed during that same period of time that when, scores go down in this and costs go up in, healthcare, you can't attribute the healthcare cost increase to Act 46, and so to me, it would be important, but a difficult study to say what changes in costs were in fact attributable to that. You're probably focusing on administrative costs, and say, all right, these two districts each used to have one superintendent, and then they merged, and you had one less employee, or I don't know what else you do.
So, well, the costs based on how the law is written, where the savings would come from, is loss of central office administrators, so your business managers, your superintendents, and your special ed directors. So you would go from about 52 of each of those people in the state right now down to 14, based upon the maps that they're looking at right now, to do that work. Again, that comes out to about a $45 savings for the taxpayers across the state. The bigger savings is going to come from the 1,000 to 1,400 teachers they're going to cut through that class size portion of the act that requires minimum class sizes. When I put those two together, the overall savings for all of this work and all this cutting and all this pain to the average taxpayer is going to be somewhere between $200 and $340 on your overall annual bill. Most taxpayers pay about $6,000 annually on their school taxes, so you're talking a $200 to $340 savings.
But the reality is, my perspective of my position, one business manager, I am out straight with two districts and a few that I have. So someone to have a bigger district has to have multiple people working for them in order to be able to do it. So yes, you have one person in that title head, but you're gonna have a bunch of people working underneath you in order just to get that.
And it's gonna,
It's an SD. SD just makes it one big one as opposed to multiple little ones, but that's not a realistic.
yeah.
No, it seems likely when you're adding that extra layer, we'll probably add more to cost than you save by
Yes.
having fewer people who are called business managers.
The additional busing alone would eat up a lot of these savings, and I'm trying to figure out how to put a number on that.
Well, and to that point, as far as I know, there's currently no cap on how far away people will have to drive to get to school.
So, go ahead.
I think they said, well, no, I think what they said was they were shooting for 40 minutes drive time
We exceed that
on a
now.
car. Yeah, in a car on clear roads on a nice day. But that I don't think is in the law that it has to be. I think that was their hope, their wish, from what I've read.
So
Those people must not be parents.
no, we discussed it yesterday, and that did come up, and the pressure is on. They need to define what the threshold is for a reasonable commute. They also need to define what the Constitution means when the state is supplying a convenient number of schools to educate its children. That's a requirement under the state constitution, which they have not done. So they can't reasonably actually even go through the redistricting efforts until there's agreement on what those two things mean, that you brought up. It's really important.
And of course, the law doesn't explicitly say, these 27 schools will close, all that it does is take away the power from a local board to make that decision. And so now, like if we got merged with Springfield and Bellows Falls and everybody, the combined board could make a decision
And my thought on that, Dave, is the state's not going to say it. They're going to force division among the new communities, which is not going to be healthy to start a relationship with big, huge divisive tactics.
The new administration of the bigger districts is supposed to do the assessment, not make the decision, but do the assessment of its schools. But to combine the two pieces, so what came up yesterday, which was nice to hear, was Cheryl's piece, and what a lot of the superintendents are saying is, yeah, the supervisory union model is tough because we're not educational leaders. We basically serve the board and try to make sure the governance pieces are happening, because that's all we have time to do. Matter of fact, I had to pull back from my principals meetings probably for quite a while now, because I just don't have time to get to them and get everything else done that needs to happen. But the combination goes along with the idea of local voice. People are pushing for the supervisory union model because they want to preserve local voice. And so the question that I put on the two senators was, is there a way to preserve local voice without going to supervisory? Because you're not going to be able to do both. If you have the supervisory unions, the system will fall apart, or you'll have such a big layer of middle management that it's going to actually cost you more. So it's an interesting question when you combine those two pieces.
I have very personal grievances with this topic, but just from a fiscal perspective, how are we kind of considering AI efficiencies for some of this?
It hasn't been on any of the topics that have been discussed so far. I do know that across the state, it is one of the things that the state teachers unions understandably are concerned about, as they don't want it taking jobs away from teachers. But I haven't seen a bigger discussion than that.
I wouldn't say AI efficiencies in terms of teachers, but in terms of like Cheryl helping you, like with reporting, or, I don't know if there's any way, because I don't know the ins and outs of what you do, but.
I forgot the name of the program that we used. Who's that? It's bug me now. With TRSU, we had tried a package that would put the stuff online, and so it would interpret the data that I put in. But there were so many nuances of the assumptions that we made that they didn't, that it really wasn't.
You still need a human to go in and check all the numbers, and then for like generating principals reports and things like that, like
it does very good, and this is more of a general comment based upon the little bit of research I've done. Right now, it is very good at taking what is already out there and re-speaking it. Mm-hmm. It is not good at creating new. So looking at what's out there and creating something new from it, it is very poor at this point in time. It will get better.
Yeah.
And so I guess a lot of it depends upon, how much do you need? If it's just reiterating a policy or making a decision based upon a policy, AI can do that.
Yeah.
If it's creating a new policy to fit a new set of circumstances that have not occurred before, it's going to have a little bit of difficulty. It might get it right, it might not. So it's a good discussion.
Just thought I'd bring.
Well, I can imagine improved software to help teachers identify specific issues with specific kids and to suggest approaches. But it's not going to be automatically happen. It's going to take some number of years for the companies that are out there to improve to use AI in their software and to make it useful. And so sure, it's possible.
I think at least for when I use it, it helps expand my own thinking right now. It doesn't do a lot of the actual thinking for me. But again, I expect that's going to change over the course of time.
Yeah. Well, the more it's used,
the smarter it'll get. Yeah.
Right. I use it sometimes, and it's hit or miss whether I get something usable or not. And sometimes I have to type in so many follow-up questions to make it do what I want it to do that I just give up and make it myself because it's quicker. My other comment that I wanted and then forgot is, how is there research or is there conversations at any level about taxes and how communities have in the past offered services, maybe mental health services or other such things that now schools are picking up and we're paying for because the communities don't have enough resources, and we as schools are finding that we need them, so we're providing them, and they're a great impact to our budget. And we're voting on that whereas those other agencies' budgets don't really get voted on, they're not put to the public. Is that an accurate, do you think?
Yes, and a lot of that, we go back kind of to the mental health piece, it's the old upriver, downriver story where you've got the suicides happening in the big city and the people are jumping off the bridge into the water. They're floating down the river, and the town that's picking the bodies out of the water gets really, really good at keeping people alive, but they're damaged, right? They're damaged, they're crippled at that point in time, where the real solution is to find out why they're jumping in the water in the first place and preventing it from happening there. The state, and at least in my time back in Vermont, which is about a decade now, the state itself has been silent on that need. People bring it up, but I have never heard discussion of it at the state level. That, yeah, this is something we've got to address. We've got to do something about the mental health crisis, and it has to happen as a first point of contact, not as a cleanup afterwards. I wonder if the schools taking it on because we had to has taken that burden off of, or at least taken the belief off of folks that it's a burden that needs to be addressed.
Julie?
Hi, sorry I joined the meeting late. My question is about, I caught, I think, most of your presentation about your remarks that you made in your analysis. Did you get the impression that, and it sounded like it was great information, I really appreciate your sort of advocacy and, telling the story of our district and our experiences. But did you get the impression that the folks you were presenting to were sort of engaged in these topics and, internalizing the comments that you were making and the analysis that you presented?
Yes, they literally were hurting and wanting data to be able to express their concerns about the impact of Act 73. You could feel how concerned they were about it. They didn't even need to speak. What my impression was is they were looking for the data to be able to support their arguments. And that was concerning in and of itself when you have people making a decision that is this large with no data or research to back up what they are doing. That's deeply disturbing. It's even more disturbing to me that the redistricting committee only had eight meetings to get this all done. So yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, my feeling was I could literally feel it without even having them speak how concerned that they were, which I thought was which is a very positive and good thing.
Any other questions or comments for Lane? No. All right. Principals reports.
Lee, do you want to move yours and I can turn it off there so they're gonna stop? Yeah.
Give me just a second. Okay, so you
Okay.
microphone and speaker on.
All right. So can everyone online hear me? All right. So Ludlow Elementary School playground update, PTG, along with some additional funds that were left, I think from the MAC grant, we were able to put out to vote with kids last year about a piece of playground equipment that they would like to see on the playground. They voted for a tree house, and the tree house was delivered on Friday. Has not yet been installed, but they're excited. There's a climbing wall aspect of it and some different fun things. So they're really looking forward to that coming in. Our combined PTGs brought to Ludlow Elementary School a BMX bike assembly, and really tied in nicely to our school values of being safe, courteous, and responsible, and persevering and working hard. That was about a week and a half ago. This past weekend, Ludlow PTG had their Harvest Fair, which is their major fundraiser for our winter sports program and assemblies, and they had a phenomenal day and a beautiful outcome, and we appreciate the fact that they do that for us. Our assessment data is in. We have the fall MAP assessment data along with the DIBELS data, which is an early literacy screening for our students. That's attached at the end of this report. We did see a little bit of summer slide, and we did also receive our VT CAP assessments, but they're still embargoed. So we can't share that data out with us. Out with you publicly, but what I can tell you in looking and analyzing our data, we had set our goal of increasing our scores by 20% from the previous year. We met that in reading. We were close in math. So we're hoping to meet those this year. And transportation, we still are in the process of trying to figure out transportation for Ludlow. We still haven't had any applicants for bus drivers. I've had conversations with Craig and his bus driver, Dennis, as well as meeting with Sue Willis on the Green Mountain side to see if we can find a way to offer transportation to our Ludlow families. That may mean that we potentially will have to make a shift in our start time in order to accommodate both schools getting kids to and from. But we're not quite sure what that looks like yet. And so it's still a work in progress. As soon as we have more information and we have things nailed down, I will certainly reach out to folks. In my report, I included some definitions because I think sometimes we don't know when we're looking at reports. So what percentile means, mean, median percentile, the distribution of scores, and you'll see these things down below in my report. So fall MAPS assessment, we assessed about 60 students total at Ludlow Elementary School. Again, remember, we have pre-K students who don't take the assessment. We also have students who are part of the TRSU Treehouse program. They also don't participate in the assessment, and there's several students within the classrooms who take alternative assessments and don't participate in this assessment. So that's why our numbers are at 60. Our median reading score was in the 62nd percentile, and our median math score was 67th percentile. So those percentiles, the blue and green, are the proficiency scores. Those are going up, and our students who are scoring in the red are going down. And where we're seeing a flux is in those orange and yellow areas. So we're moving those up, and then kids are moving up from there. So we're pleased with those results. The DIBELS scores are below. They break theirs down in core support, which is Tier 1 classroom instruction in the blue. Again, those kids are exceeding proficiency if they score in the blue. Green is proficient. Strategic support are those kids who needed a little extra to kind of get them to that being readers, and it's based on where they are at their particular grade level. And of course, the red are those students who have some intensive needs, and it's given in 3 times a year: beginning of the year, middle of year, and end of year. Again, we have kindergartners who we assess that came right in out of preschool, and we assessed in the 2nd or 3rd week in September. So everybody was back and getting their feet under them. With the MAPS assessment, we gave that a little bit later. So those are our results, and I'll turn it over to Craig.
Sorry,
Yep,
before you
sure.
go on, if we think that we're getting results because we're testing, right, when they get back from summer break,
Mhm.
would we consider postponing these tests to maybe like the end of October? Give them a little more time?
So the tests are normed and they have a particular window. So, within that window, because they're normed by when they're given, because they have that window, we can give them within that window, but we can't go outside of the windows we can go outside the window, but then it wouldn't be normed and you wouldn't have
It
an
would harm the
accurate.
integrity of the data.
Yeah.
And it's like the fall window is when we do it, and then winter is around January, end of January, and then May in the spring. So, and it's nice to keep them consistent because then you see over time, individual kids, how they're progressing.
What is that fall window?
The fall window opens, I believe this year it opens September 6th.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
The Dibbles assessment was given
right before that.
right after that.
Right after that.
Right
yeah,
after
13th,
that,
yeah.
the 13th.
Yeah.
The week of the 13th, and we did our MAPS assessment the third week in September. Some kids who were absent took it right before the window closed last Friday.
They're weird tests in a nice way. In that it actually, each of the assessments at the 3 different points in time they'll start off. They're not expecting kids to have end, like if they're a 3rd grader, they're not expecting to have end of 3rd grade knowledge at the beginning of the year.
Right.
When you get to the middle of the year test, they are expecting them to have the knowledge of a typical 3rd grader who is halfway through 3rd grade. And so the test actually changes a little bit, gets a little bit more difficult, and expects a little bit more as they go through the windows. But the windows are important because you're comparing to a national sampling.
Okay.
And so everybody's taking it at about the same time to keep things consistent.
It also helps us during our data teams when we meet to really look at, these are in most cases new kids to new teachers, gives them a sense of where they are academically, what skills they need to focus on. And so we take a look at that, and then we build our intervention groups and our classroom instruction according to, we see that there's a huge gap in geometry. Maybe I'll work on geometry, or there's a huge gap and these kids don't remember how to tell time. So I'm going to spend a little extra time in my morning meeting or during a math center time to make sure that I focus on that.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I was just thinking that if we delayed it, we would get better results, but in a way, it's almost nice to not have good results so that you can see progress.
So when I was preparing this, I looked at our data from last year compared to this year. And last year we had about our number of students who were proficient at the beginning of the year has increased. So that's a great sign. And so we did something right last year, and there wasn't as much of a summer slide as we had thought there might be. So that really is a good thing to see. We also, as a district, have a program now called Open Architect, and I won't bore you with the details, but it is a phenomenal way for us to look at overall school data. And eventually, I would love for us to use those reports to share out with you so you can get a sense, because not only does it show where we are now, but it shows the progression over time. And I think that would be really powerful for our board to see. But again, it's brand new to us. We're still getting our feet wet in using it. It's phenomenal. We can drill down to individual student levels, and we can look at a student over time and look at their profile. We can look at their attendance and things like that. And it's for our district, it goes from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. So we can see longitudinal data on kids and groups of kids. So pretty cool. And we can drill down, we can see the Ludlow-Mount Holly side, we can compare our 2 schools, we can put our two schools together. We can look at a comparison between Ludlow-Mount Holly and the TRSU side of things or the overall district. So pretty powerful. So stay tuned. We'll show it to you at some point.
And I'm impressed too. I mean, I have to manage Adobe dashboards with data and it's like blows my mind. So the fact that you're doing this is very impressive.
Dave, did you have a question?
Yeah, can you say something about the relationship between the two tests? You know, the one showed that 42% of your kids needed intensive support, whereas the other one showed that much smaller percentages than that were way behind.
Yeah, so it's two very different assessments. The Dibbles assessment is a one-to-one reading assessment that's given, and there are things like, do you know your letters? Do you know your letter sounds? And then it moves into, okay, we're going to put these letters together and it makes up a nonsense word. And now you have to read the nonsense word. And so there's nonsense word fluency, there's regular word fluency, and then there are passages for reading and writing. So it is a one-to-one, more intense, more in-depth look at a student profile as opposed to the NWEA MAPS assessment, which is an online assessment that adjusts to a student as they answer questions, and there's a set number of questions. So the Dibbles is far more diagnostic, diving much deeper into what skills students need. And again, some students are not familiar with and that Dibbles assessment is given by a reading interventionist. It's not given by the classroom teacher. So there's not necessarily that relationship yet. Mid-year, we should see. So as our interventionist works with those students that are falling in that intensive support area, it may be that they've not had access to the skills yet. It may be that it was a wonky day. It may be that they didn't have a relationship with the interventionist. So when you put a person in with a single person and it's not a computer adaptive type thing, there are all kinds of factors that play into how those results come out.
Shotgun, good description too. Shotgun versus the rifle.
Mm-hmm.
One gives you that big, broad, general overview. The other gets really discrete about, which specific skills is the student doing well with, and which are early.
And again, the online assessment doesn't go into the depth that this Dibbles early literacy assessment goes into.
But somehow it looks as though, even though they lack all these skills, they manage to do pretty well on the other test.
And it does test different skills.
Yeah, and in the MAPS test, they're reading passages. So it's like, it does include these foundational, very specific skills. You have to have them to be able to do well on the MAPS test. But it's also fluency and it's comprehension. So are they understanding what they read? The Dibbles shows us a lot of more very specific individual skills that really inform our instruction.
And they can't do the phonics, but they can read the words and understand the paragraph anyway?
Well, not necessarily. And again, the MAPS test is an online assessment and it's multiple choice.
Okay.
So a student might have 4 responses. K-2, the test is read to them. So the prompt comes across the screen. Can you click on the apple? And a student clicks on the apple. Can you click on the letter A? Can you click on the letter C? What 2 letters make this sound at the very lower levels? Where in the Dibbles assessment, a teacher is sitting across from the student. So on the MAPS assessment, students have a 25% chance of getting an answer right.
Just guessing.
They could guess. And we've had cases where we've seen a profile come back on a student and we're like, there is no possible way that's accurate. And then when we look at the Dibbles, it's like, yep, that's far more accurate. So on the assessment, they were really good guessers on that day. Where in the Dibbles assessment, we're seeing, do they actually have that one-to-one correspondence when it comes to letter identification, letter sound, word usage, understanding nonsense words and things like that, and applying those phonemic skills that a computer adaptive test would not necessarily be able to accurately.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
Okay.
I know in high school, I got very good at multiple choice tests, without knowing what the real answer was, by reading the alternative.
Eliminating
You-
the
Yeah.
distractions.
2 out of the 4, and.
And
Yeah.
with a pretty good shot.
I was just looking to see one of my kids would say this and they heard me saying this, but I have one that just flew through the MAPS test and had a terrible score because she didn't want to take the test and just flew through
Yeah.
it. And then the Dibbles was a completely different result.
Yeah. And so when we meet collectively and when we talk about kids in our data teams, we take all of those things into consideration. And it's like, oh, so is this accurate? Are you as a teacher in the classroom seeing this? Or
Right.
aren't you?
Yeah, there's all of the, classroom assessments for everyday math and for EL, and, there's a lot of data because kids are complex.
All right. Sorry, Craig.
Thank you for all.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna have you shut yours first, and then I'll turn mine back.
Do you want Craig to present? He didn't talk yet.
Can they see yours? They can see them.
Well, I don't know whether I'm not projecting that.
No.
It's just in the report. I was just looking at it. I didn't share my screen. But I turned the sound on here so they can hear you.
So I should talk
Yep.
that way. Okay.
Yep.
So my report is very similar to Deb's. We had our open house on Wednesday, the 25th. It was very well attended. We have 11 new students and we have another one joining next week. We we've always done an ice cream social, but we've never put them together with the open house. And we got really positive feedback that people liked that full 2 hours. There was a lot of time to get to know families and spend time with teachers and hear about volunteer opportunities, do paperwork. And the book fair was much more, evenly attended so that there was not such a crush of people rushing in just in 1 hour. So that's something we'll plan to continue in the future. Deb talked about the BMX assembly. That was wonderful. The kids really enjoyed that a lot, and it did align with our values. We're coming up this weekend with cider days, so they're doing the traditional Super Kids and making the bowls and the mugs. This year is really exciting, and running the booth and all of the same information about assessments and assessments going home the day after tomorrow to families and kids. Transportation, Deb hit all of that. So you can see in our data, about 65% of our students in math are in the blue and green, and 61% are hitting it in literacy. And you see the similar trends of fewer kids in the red and kids moving up from red to orange and then orange to yellow. And we're on track with our SIP goals, making 5% achievement goals each year. And our DIBBLES has a similar pattern, that shows more kids in need of strategic and intensive supports. But again, for all the reasons we just discussed.
Any questions for Greg?
Thank you.
Switch.
Try to turn the microphone back on while it's in a meeting, it glitches.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Awesome. But the other thing, if you ended up taking a loan on it, and then we got redistricted, you wouldn't be paying for the bulk of the loan.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, the thing is, when we get redistricted, we don't want to be taking on the burdens of other people that already have loans either.
Right. Right, so when we combined before, everybody's good. When we combined before, our
everything was consolidated, right? And it got divided out over a bigger number of people. But we have no idea what would happen, right? So I hear what you're saying. I also hear what Cheryl's saying.
So I will say the partial that they gave us an estimate for is definitely the most in need part of that building that needs work.
So what should be our decision-making process? I mean,
A set of dice? No.
do we need any, right? I mean,
I would like to know, and maybe this isn't, and I'll read more in depth, but I would like to know if we choose the partial, how many years does that guarantee?
I think it's a 30-year that it might have gone up, but I think it's a 30-year on the shingles. And, you know, the workmanship that would be on whatever construction company, you know, would guarantee on their workmanship.
but if we did the partial, then how long until we need to do the other half? I mean, is it 2 years away, 5 years away?
No, I don't think it's 2, but I mean, what was that roof, Craig, when we did the bond? Was it already at 20 years?
Well, they did the roof when I got there.
25. Right.
22 years ago.
Yeah, so you know, you figure 30, if you get 30 years or so out of your roof, you're in pretty good shape. So you're, you know, working on end of life for the roof.
For the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's the one that needs the immediate.
Yeah, rule of thumb on a building like this, and of course that roof structure is different. For a building like this type of roof is 20 years.
So the prices, I know one is fairly large, but I was expecting it to be more than that. So, and for a complete, there's a lot of roof there for the whole building, the whole thing, the gym, everything. No.
And I don't think 22 or whatever years ago, the whole roof was done. Am I correct? I believe it was just the front half before. I am sure it wasn't the gym because the gym was very new at that point. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That roof, the gym roof, right, with the addition, I found documents on that.
There were problems.
Right, they had to come back if something wasn't right.
That was before me, so I don't know.
Because it was Jim Van Host notes were involved in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember.
They phoned the whole thing that summer, right?
That's what I don't recall. I mean, I don't know that it's pertinent either, but what I know got done is from the firewall forward. From the firewall to the, you know, the little hill there, I think it's always called it back. I'm not sure about the gym roof. I don't think was done because it was only 3 or 4 years old, if that, when we did the front roof, right? That's why I don't think, so that's why if this number includes the gym roof, I think that we're just good for, you know, I think what must be is the front half,
That's
the middle quarter, and then the gym is I think it's 3 separate times.
So the partial is the cafeteria, the front office, and the whole playground side. That's the partial.
Right.
But not the gym.
Not the gym. No.
Right. Oh,
the
okay.
whole playground side, both sides, parking lot and playground.
No.
Just.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not the wing, just the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the most immediate issues that you're gonna have in the near future.
That area over my office.
Yeah.
Bathrooms.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
Todd, what's the, like, what are you looking for tonight?
I'm just giving you this information,
Okay.
right? I mean, you would ask Wayne to ask me to get these for you, so that's, you now have the information that you guys requested.
But at the same time, you're feeling like time is of the essence if we're gonna book for the summer.
Yeah, if you're gonna, if you as a board decide that you want to do something this summer there, now, maybe I should tell you about the PFAS project too, and you may not wanna do that much work on one school all at one time, because the PFAS project is gonna take off in a year. And I'm gonna apologize to Craig, because he's just gonna hear this for the first time tonight, because I just found out about this.
But they're not in the school.
They're not, but they're gonna be on the property, building, and, I mean, we could. Yeah.
What is that?
Oh.
Where have you been?
So there's been water from all over Long Creek.
No, 19. It's just before COVID.
6 years.
So they've been drinking bottled water at Holly.
Probably also has PFAS in it.
The state, they're involved in this, and back and forth, I've reported 25 times maybe on PFAS, but anyways, long story short, we'll switch gears over to PFAS. We received a 452-page bid document, from Craig, our, engineer, environmentalist. The documents, Cheryl sent it to visit to make sure the insurance is all right, 452 pages. I talked to Craig extensively today for about a whole bunch of things.
Other
Yeah, so the funding programs are in for final review. There shouldn't be a problem. They're thinking those will be back in 2 weeks with full approval for the funding. At that time, they want to put them out to bid within the next month. So this is how fast this is moving, right? This is gonna happen.
For 6 years now.
Yeah. So they're talking about roughly 45 days for the bid process, and it goes, and this is Craig's words, that during deer hunting, not a lot of these companies are gonna bid during November, early December, they're gonna be in the woods hunting. So he'll put it out for 45 days. He wants to have the bids opened by January or February and award the contract to a contractor. We're scheduled for early spring to begin the project, which is, pretty much a very advanced RO machine, reverse osmosis, and then take care of the PFAS and then pump fresh clean water into the school. That's the short version of it.
So is there something we need to approve so that can go ahead, or do we all need to know?
This is not using the town well?
It is, yeah. So all that water from the town will go into a building.
That they're gonna build.
Yeah, that they're gonna build, and that's.
Near the sheds.
Yep, and this water unit is gonna go in there, Cheryl, while we're talking, there will be a budgetary impact at some point to operate this. We'll talk to Craig about that when we, Craig, our engineer, about what that costs, we gotta be,
CJ.
yeah.
So just clarity, all of what you talked about, setting it up, the initial cost is all being covered by grants from
The state.
the state.
Correct.
Eventually, there would be maintenance and upkeep costs that would be absorbed by the board,
Or by the district, correct.
district.
Yeah, there'll be, you'll have somebody come in to clean the filters at a, periodic time, and there'll be a cost. There'll be salt that'll have to be put in, I think,
Dispose.
Do we have to dispose of the wastewater?
No,
We don't have to dispose of the.
they'll take care of that. Whoever takes care of that will take care of the filters.
$23,000 from what I remember.
That's what I remember.
Yeah,
20 to 25.
yeah. So that'll have to be added in, but we'll talk to Craig Jewett and get a more solid number in that when that gets.
Here's an interesting question. Do we know how the PFAS got there to begin with? And can we sue that company for the?
Well, I think we'll be careful with that, because the way they're saying it's from years and years and years, not just at Mount Holly, dumping, chemicals and, floor waxes and everything down the drain, and it, leached out into Killington's dealing with this, everybody. There's a lot of people dealing with PFAS right now.
With Craig Jewett was that likely the state's not gonna do anything to clean up because there's no here's the source.
Yeah.
You know, it's there.
It's
But
everywhere.
it's not like,
Yeah.
so that you can clean it.
It's not like the down, Bennington and the New York. where we get-
And when it first happened, there was, everybody in town had a theory about how it got there, so that there's no way to point a finger, I don't think,
No.
yeah.
So this is good news. This has been going on for a long time. This is good news for the school. The school have drinking water. Kids can drink out. I don't think gotten used to bottled water, but this is good. This is
Now
good
we're gonna have to
for us.
reteach them not to put their mouth on the
Um,
fountain.
So interesting. With that, then you'd have to decide what you want to do about the roof.
But there's no cost associated with this.
Not right now. Nope. This is all funded by the state.
That number that Cheryl and I are remembering, 2025, that is a few years old, so things are all more expensive.
25,000, not 2,500 per year for this filter?
Well, it's for the maintenance of the system.
But
Yeah.
Is it like a Culligan? What kind of system is this?
Reverse osmosis.
It's like a 20 by 20 foot building.
Yeah.
How is filtration?
This
It's a filtration system and, there's gonna be black
Would you like
lights.
to review the bid?
I don't, I mean, you can buy like a Culligan home water filtration system.
Well, the state's involved now.
This is way out of our hands. This is. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Right?
Yes.
All right, so between now and November's meeting, is this what we're saying? We need to think about, ask questions, organize, and be ready to vote on PFAS and
Nope.
roof pipe down.
No vote on PFAS.
That's just gonna happen regardless. Okay, good. And then the roof.
But
So,
when we vote on the roof, keeping in mind that we will
Right.
have this
Yeah.
upcoming cost.
I don't think there's gonna be a problem, like with time and what goes on at Mount Holly. They're just, if you decided to put a roof on and the PFAS project went on, there'd be a lot going on there in the summer. Not that it can't be done, but just so everybody's aware, that would be a lot.
But it's different people and it's like different parts of the,
Depending on what you decide to do.
They
Right.
did to the school already, right?
What's that?
Didn't they drill to the?
Yeah,
school?
that's all done. The drilling to the school's all
Looking
done.
up within the school and then working on the building that's over by the
Correct.
town.
Yeah, yeah,
We shouldn't bother the roof.
there should. No,
Well, the town office was affected too. Are they part of this project? That has to be because they're gotta be drawn from the same water source.
The town has, like, the office has their own.
they have their own well, but I mean,
It'd
it's
be the same aquifer.
proximity.
they don't want to test
They
it.
haven't tested it probably.
Yeah, the state hasn't required them to test
That's
it.
probably what it
You
is.
don't open the mail, there's no bills, right?
There
Yeah.
might be a cost sharing. But the state's on.
So it's probably just.
Let's not make trouble.
yeah,
All right, so that is on the schedule for November, on the agenda for November, right? Good enough, okay.
Yeah, Cheryl, do you need anything, I mean, in November, do we want to be voting on approving specific documents, right?
no,
No.
I think that we have to, one of the questions that we'll have to answer is if we're going to fund it out of our capital reserve, or are we gonna go try to get a loan or a bond for it? I didn't really look at the number very closely.
I would say build it in the budget.
Have it in the budget, but I did look closely at the number. I'm pretty sure that we have money in there now, and I think 350 going in there this year. So I think that we can cover it under that. The question would be, is there any other capital projects that are coming up that we need to be concerned about?
Mhm.
As we go into that. So we could put together, well, but I don't want to put a bid document together and then find out that you don't want to do it, so.
if you did it over, like Dave said, if you did it over if you split it between a couple of years, probably.
You pay some money in June and some money in July, right, and it's in other.
To answer your question, what you're gonna need in November is a decision on what, if anything, you wanna do. You wanna do one of those three projects, or you wanna do nothing? That's what you're gonna have to decide on.
Say that again.
you'll have to decide on one of four things. Either you want to do nothing, or you want to do one of those three, or a partial, a layover, or a
She
complete.
she said she needs the paperwork.
And I'm still winning against the plan.
I am, yeah. Yeah.
I can't really.
And we can't,
Right.
we can't do
It's
nothing.
a part.
Or a whole.
If what you see as the main advantage and disadvantage, it's all virtual and a whole.
It's a really good question, right? So when you look at those price differences between that partial, and it's not half of the roof, it's close, but it's not half the gymnasium, the big chunk of the roof, which is a part of it. You have, I'm sure they've added price for, it's so much money just to get them there, regardless of how much roof they put on, right? So that price is already added in. So it's not half. So, I mean, I don't know, if you're gonna take this plunge and you're gonna go for this, I mean, if you're right at it, right there, for that amount of money, I mean.
I mean, speaking for myself, I think I have enough information to say that I want to do the whole thing.
Well, I mean, I think I'd have to agree with you.
Yeah, and so, I mean, are we, can we even decide that today? And as, now, not as a final decision, but as a sort of guidance to our staff to come to us with what we would need to approve at our next meeting.
I think I, at this point, would be in favor of the whole thing. I do have one question that maybe I should ask out loud. I don't know. Well, let's go for it. If we do it and we do it all with a crown and some diamonds and some platinum too, and then the state makes decisions that we don't like down the road, are we in a better place? Probably, right? If we get merged and then we're paying for the bond versus the out of budget, would we be better off bonding it out?
So here's the other thing that we don't know, all this capital reserve money. What is it gonna do with it? So I would prefer that you put it in local and keep it in the community rather than it pays for addition to rivers.
As a part of the assessment as well, that the administrative team that'll be taking over at some point in time is supposed to do, the quality of the buildings will be a big piece of it.
Right. No, I'm not talking about whether we do it or not. My
Oh, how you,
question is, do we bond it out so that it then may be distributed among a bigger group of people paying the taxes, or do we pay it very locally? That's my question.
Your bond's gonna have to go to your taxpayers, and so then you can't go out to bid till after March.
They have to, right?
Okay.
So
All right.
there's a key question in there. If you were to pay for it out of, like it was put into a regular budget, everybody across the state pays for it. The state has been changing its opinion on people going out to bond and what portion of that comes from local versus the ed fund. I think they blocked it from coming from the ed fund at one point in time, not too long ago, but that's worth looking at doing some research on. About 2 years ago, that any kind of going out to those bigger pieces is more local than it is coming from the ed fund.
Okay. Yeah, that was my only thought.
Right. No, it does look to me that there's a lot of uncertainty now about what the legislature is going to do next summer about bonding. And so to me, we should go ahead and pay for it either in 1 year or two, depending on how much is left in the
Capital improvement.
and as we work on that budget. But I mean, is that enough guidance for now for what to, or do you want us?
Which of the three would you rather have us look at? Which I would say, which is the preferable?
I'm sorry, we do.
Of the three choices, which would be preferable for us to start looking at pursuing? The big one.
The big one.
Gotcha. Okay.
Out of a year or two of capital funds.
Right.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't help us if you make that vote tonight.
I don't think we can make that vote tonight without it being on the agenda. I mean, that's a lot of money to vote on a non-agenda item.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but I think we can So ask the management to come back to us with the details of what we would need to do on that choice. Right. And we probably don't need to spend a lot of time on the other alternatives. Good. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think barring any, midnight thoughts that I haven't thought of right now, I think the whole thing just makes the most sense at the moment. We can't predict what the future is going to bring. And so I think we have to do what's right for right now. And,
for the future that we want.
And is there any need for a facilities committee or we can, you have what you need? Right.
We got what we need.
Yeah, and Julie has a question.
Hi, those of us in Zoom, and I assume the note taker as well, missed the sort of critical beginning part of
so
this.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were switching computers again.
Can you hear Julie?
It's me.
Hi, can you hear me?
Now we can.
Now we can.
Okay, so those of us online missed it sounds like the key opening portions of this item. I see the quotes, but I am confused about what you're talking about with respect to the 3 options and then the discussion related to the bond. I don't know if Amber caught those, but that was all silent for me. So I'm not sure any of that has been captured in.
No, I don't know what part you actually heard, Julie. I think the opening part that you're referring to is Todd was giving an overview. There are 3 quotes. He did not think it was appropriate for us to say the company or the actual numbers because it wouldn't be good practice when we do go out to vote for it. So the least expensive would be an overlay of shingles to the current roof. The mid-priced one would be a partial replacement. It would be the.
No, you got that Ralph backwards, Kelly.
Okay, then.
The middle one is, the low one is the partial, the middle is the layover, and the high.
Oh, okay, sorry, thank you. All right.
And the high is what? I missed that.
A full.
Got it. Okay. And what can you, what was the discussion around a bond? So for the full roof, we would need to go out to bond?
No. We would be able to, what we think would work best would be to do it out of capital improvement over 1 year or 2, and we could make that happen. Right.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I thought I heard discussion about a bond, but.
We did bring it up in that we could take it out to bond, and I asked if it wouldn't be better to take it out to bond with the uncertainty of, Act 73 and whatnot. But the consensus in the room was that it's actually probably better to do it more locally than with a bond.
Great, thank you.
Yes. All right. Any other questions or comments for this facilities report?
Just so you know too, there's like 150,000 in capital reserve now, and we have 300, about 150,000. And we have 350 budgeted to go in this year. We haven't moved in, so you'll have about 500.
Thank you. So if there's no other questions or comments, then we'll look in November for the information needed to actually vote on putting this out to bid. And if we have questions in the meantime, we should get them to Cheryl or Todd, Lane, right? Curriculum report? Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
The report should be in the folder, unless there's questions about the only thing that I'll say is that we're trying to move from a more centralized way of doing the curriculum work to putting a lot of that work back onto the principals as the educational leaders of their building. There was a tremendous amount of work done on a variety of projects that were very supportive of the needs of the different schools, but the needs at each of the schools is not quite the same. So they basically have a buffet, a menu to choose from to figure out what is best for their school, to tailor it to their school. And that's kind of where the shift is happening right now. And I believe, well, October 14th, you guys have already planned out what's happening at your school levels in terms of the professional development for that day. So I think it's a good change.
If we're redistributing this workload from the curriculum director to the principals, does that mean we're going to be looking at eliminating the curriculum director position?
So there's two pieces to that. Part of the work that she is doing is facilitating and helping them get what they need to be able to do the work that they do. She's also kind of oversees it. One of the things that we'll be talking about at the principals meeting is that the district goals are pretty distinct, as are the school level goals, and making sure that the work that they're doing is tied into that. She also potentially, and this is probably a discussion without putting names in it, typically curriculum directors oversee the funding within the district from the federal government, because most of that money is designed to support the improvement work that schools are engaged in. And so it makes sense the person that's overseeing it is also the one who's getting the proper funding for it. But there is a person who's currently in that position now. So that may be a discussion that needs to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I would only ask in the reports, there were a lot of acronyms. I had no idea what they were.
Yeah.
Okay, and so besides spelling them out, it would be helpful to explain, in a sentence, what it does, OGAP. I don't know what OGAP is, or, and even if I knew what it stood for, I probably wouldn't know what it did.
So acronyms.
Any other comments about the curriculum report or questions? All right, financial report.
Okay, so you have the financial, and I did the updated that David had wanted, where it compares current year to the prior year. I'm not sure if you see a benefit in it. If you don't, let me know, because it'd be one less thing I have to do. Overall, I think we're on target with the budget. Our overage, the one that I know off the top of my head is the principal salary. Other than that, it looks like you're pretty on target for this time of year. We have completed the audit on-site portion of the audit. And now they're asking me, helping me with questions on a daily basis, which is like, okay, stop, you were here. But the draft is due to us by November 15th. So just to throw this out there, I know there's been a lot of discussion about Claremont High School and what's happening to them. My understanding is that they hadn't had an audit for almost 10 years. And someone read a deficit as a surplus and gave it back to the taxpayers, which doubled. So
Can you say that again, a little louder? Just want to make sure I heard what I think I heard.
Deficit as a surplus and gave it back to the top. They used their coupon twice.
Double coupon, a big old Claremont market basket. Wow.
That's probably one of many issues that happen there. But I just wanted to reassure people that we get audited on an annual basis. We had an auditor that came and spoke with you last spring, which is good for you to know. In my view, that's my report card. And so I do encourage you to have him come and speak, and also to look at the report. I know it's not exciting reading, but the information is in there about the state of the district and how we're doing.
Cheryl, is there a difference in Vermont versus New Hampshire? So Vermont says we have to be audited every year?
Yeah.
By law.
And on the federal level, if you have more than 750,000, well, actually it's $1 million as of July 1. If you have $1 million worth of federal funds, you have to be audited annually. But someone told me that was every 3 years, but Vermont does it annually.
Okay. So we're not
we're not doing more just because we're doing more because Vermont says we have to, which is a good thing. I'm not criticizing, I'm just
Yeah.
clarifying. Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
yes.
Any other?
So just next month, our hope is that we come back to you with the first preliminary budget. We have a lot of work to do between now and then. So my last question for you is about the VSBA. Because I have an outstanding balance on an invoice that they're asking me for, and this organization is my holdout.
How much is our portion of that? Are we making a huge headache for minimal impact for you?
So the entire bill,
It's like 7,000 district wide.
Right.
is 7,816. 60, and it's generally about like a 1/3, 2/3 split. So $2,400, $2,500.
People have thoughts about the current state of the VSBA and whether we should continue with our holdout of the $25-ish $100 you just said?
I thought we said at the last meeting that even if we chose to express our, that we were leaving the organization, it's still at like the overall TRSU level. So it's like, we can't not pay because it's the whole district is paying this bill. So like just Mount Holly Ludlow, we can say, we don't align with what you're doing, but we can't say that we're not paying because we
We're
can't.
essentially paying it through an assessment anyways.
TRSU bill.
Right, right.
So I think we have to pay. I mean, we can vocalize that we are unhappy, but I think we have to pay, right?
Look at me, but that's your call.
Well, you're gonna be voting on probably 20 policies that were developed by the VSBA that are mandated policies by the state of Vermont in about 5 minutes. So you are getting some value from them. They're the ones that write policies and pay for the legal team that puts them together.
Do people have thoughts or want to make a motion for Cheryl to or not to pay the VSBA our Ludlow-Mount Holly portion of the TRSU bill?
I guess if we decide to go ahead and pay, I'd like to send a message that there's gonna be a lot of decisions to be made in the next 6 months, right? More or less, right? And that if we're not happy with the way the SBA approaches those decisions, right, then we would ask for next year, the TRSU to decide to withdraw, right?
Could we put the money in escrow and just do like when you lived in New York and your landlord didn't do certain things, you would put your rent money in escrow and say you can have this when you fix ABC, so technically we're paying our bill, we're going to put this money in escrow and they can have it when they start actually doing what they said they were going to do.
I don't want to make a lot of work for Cheryl for $2,500 that the VSBA doesn't even really realize we are or are not paying. That's my only, I like the idea of digging our heels in because I'm kind of all about that, but I don't want to make a huge headache over nothing. And I don't know that our $2,500 makes a big enough impact to balance out the headache that it would cause. That's my question or my statement. I don't know.
I think you're gonna make a bigger statement by sending them a statement than not paying.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's do that.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
I move that we pay our, how do I have to say this formally? Do you have to say the amount?
To authorize Cheryl to pay.
To pay your dues to the VSBA.
Yeah.
Okay. So I move that we pay our dues to the VSBA. That's
All you need.
In pennies.
Pennies.
Yeah.
Somebody want to second it?
As long as you're willing to rent a dump truck to take it out, yeah.
I can
I
second
got
that.
one. Is there a second?
She seconded.
I'll second
Sorry, I
that.
didn't hear you because we were giggling. So all those in favor of paying our VSBA dues?
Begrudgingly, yes.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Yeah, I'll oppose it.
Okay. Go, Julie.
You guys want to assign somebody the task of writing the,
A statement?
Sure.
All right, there you go. Okay. You can add your statement to my cranky one on the other thing.
Kelly,
Yes.
point of order, if you have a non-unanimous vote and there's
Oh.
anybody on Zoom, it has to be a roll call.
Yep, so we'll do a roll call. KDK, do you vote yay or nay on the paying the dues?
Yay.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Jen McCulkey,
Yes.
Katie Benson,
Yes.
Julie McKenzie.
No.
Thank you. All right, are we moving on to old business? Perfect. Updated required policy, second read, board operations and personnel.
so there were multiple, I think A was only one, but there were multiple under the Series B, the personnel policies. Again, these are mandated policies. We have to have them. It is possible to change the wording, but it probably should be done if folks have something that they're very concerned about with the advice of legal counsel. But it is our legal counsel that actually wrote these policies for the VSBA, that have provided them to us. So I don't know if there's specific questions on any of A and B or not.
Have any huge questions?
They're pretty boilerplate. You had most of them anyway. We were just, as we redid the website, like I said, we noticed that some were a little out of date and some, there was one or two of the minor ones that were missing. So we figured it was better let's just redo them all based upon the most recent language.
On the website, seeing as like category A, category.
He's putting the category names on them. I talked to him. Yep.
What I was just looking for. And they do now say board operations, personnel, students, instructions.
Should be instruction.
Instructional, maybe. What do you say? And then school community relations, non-instructional operations.
It should be instruction.
Yeah, that's my guess. Thank you, because that at least makes it one step more friendly. Yeah, because this says proficiency-based grade advancement, so it should be instructional. Thank you. And then G still just says policies, so.
That one doesn't.
Working on that one?
That one's generic. There is no G for VSBA. Sometimes
Okay.
you have some of the recommended policies that you may.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cybersecurity and concerning animals are the only two in that one, so. Okay.
So those aren't required. Those are ones that came up because of various needs around the district. So we probably had, I know the animal one, we had our own legal counsel create. So geez, that kind of catch all.
Okay. So we are on a second read, so you would look for adoption of.
A and B, the full series. I didn't print them all out because otherwise.
No, but they're in here. I just assumed they were in there too, but they're not. Somebody want to make a motion to approve Series A board operations and Series B personnel?
So move.
Anybody want a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments about either set of policies? Hearing none.
I want to say that there were a whole lot of them. And so I think my preference would be to spread them out a little bit, so we don't have to spend, do quite as many at the same time in the future, Go ahead and approve these, but.
Right.
But when we get to the new business, like maybe only do the Cs and, and postpone the Ds for, one at a time, something like that.
Does that work in the, yeah,
No, I just, if we're missing any and we're out of compliance, it'll just keep us out of compliance for a
Right.
while, but I don't think it's going to be anything.
I don't think anyone would be
critical.
that, right,
Yeah.
that critical. And I think, I don't know, I had a thought, but
So is it may, if we do like one series at a time, of course, you got the couple of biggest ones up front that have the most policies in them.
all right, so we have a motion and a second, correct?
Right.
All right, and we will do less in the future. All those in favor of Series A and Series B in their entirety?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Anybody opposed? Perfect. So those have been approved and we'll do C in the next round only.
And then you can table D.
Yeah. Monitoring information support staff contract board ratification vote.
That's been moved to your executive session.
Executive session. Okay. Teacher negotiation update.
Actually, I'm going to say it was more positive than it has been.
Good.
We had a meeting, was it Monday, Cheryl? And I can't go into a lot of details outside of executive session, but it was the first time it felt like things moved forward in quite a while. So that's a positive sign. And there seemed to be some agreements in areas where there were not agreements before, and some openness. So I felt, at the end of the evening, I felt very positive.
Good. And hopefully both sides felt that way. Katie, you're on that committee. Do you have anything to add, Katie Benson? Or you may not have gone, I don't know.
No, yeah, no, I was there. I think Lane kind of covered it, and we have our next meeting next week.
Yep, okay, perfect, thank you. Open board positions, oh, sorry.
So I'm on that.
Oh, you are, sorry, I could have asked you.
No, because I wasn't there. I got
Okay.
called to work. But the 14th is a Tuesday and I work Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, so I'm not gonna be able to make
Okay,
that meeting.
I'm in alt, so I can.
yeah,
Okay.
So you're on for,
10/14.
yeah.
yeah,
A lot of it, one of the reasons that it's been a little while since we actually met was because we just got so many people with so many different, I mean, the whole, say, I can blame the Teachers Association on the summer months, but, we're more to blame as we got into September, October.
yeah.
I'm on the floor, so I can.
Yeah.
I can't.
Oh, don't feel bad.
No,
No.
there are things we can't do.
Yeah, same thing with the
Yeah,
teachers, that
yeah.
life is important.
So Katie and Katie will both be able to go on the 14th and hopefully things will keep moving forward in a positive way and both sides, I hope, feel that way. Open board position, we still have one open board position. It would have to be a Ludlow resident. And anybody out there who wants to join all this fun, would be great to have you. I know the Lane and Sydney have put it out there a few times, 4 times Lane is saying. I don't know if we can get it in a newsletter, if we can put it on the website, if we can put it on the Facebook.
I mean,
It would ease some of the burden for all of these other little things that are going on and I, one more person to join the committees and whatever would be great.
if we ask the PTG, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
any avenue that we have,
I am the PTG, so I will let the.
yeah, yeah. Open board, new business, updates to required policies, first read C, and D, but do we want to do C?
I would vote to table D.
And then, yeah, I was gonna say, and then table D per Dave's recommendation. Okay. Are there clarifying questions for C?
And again, these are just the mandated ones we have to have.
And then, Do we need to make a motion to table D?
I would.
Yeah, so does somebody want to do that?
I'll make that
Thank you.
my idea.
And Jen, did you second
I'll
it?
second.
Perfect. And so we'll table D for 2 months down the road, right? Because next time we'll be approving C.
I mean, we'll do the first read of D.
Okay, you're okay with that? All right. Okay, so we'll do, tonight is the first read of C. November will be hopefully the second read and approval. And then we'll start our first read of D in November for approval, hopefully in December. All those in favor of that?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. And I'm curious why C29 is separated out.
It's not required.
It's not required.
Okay.
That was a recommended one that the board asked to consider.
Okay. But we're gonna put it in with the Cs. It's just additional.
We can.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes? Yeah, okay. And then BOCES membership?
We are, the RSU voted to join.
Okay.
So just, so people who know, it's a collaborative. It's going to take the place of the Vermont Learning Collaborative. It's where a group of districts get together, share a bit of resources to be able to have a centralized place that we all can draw from. This is typically around special education students. It provides for professional development at a much reduced cost. The thing that I'm actually most interested in about it, now that I've had a chance to research it a bit, is the intent to stock it with very specialized people that can assist our neediest students. Like I said, we're very good at managing students with mental health disabilities, but we don't have a lot of people that specialize in it. This may be an avenue to get those services, to get those students to a point where they don't need services at all at some point in the future. So it's just more of an update.
All right, thank you. Budget planning, constraints, and landscape.
We talked about that.
Yeah. So we're all set there. Nobody has any additional. Proxy appointments for Visbit and VHI.
So now that you are a member again of
Begrudgingly.
So the VHI and Visbit, actually, they have their, what do you call them, their annual meetings coming up October 30th in Burlington with the VSBA and the Superintendent's Association. Because you are all paying members, the board gets one vote. You are actually a part of the board. And they have that annual meeting. And so this is either telling them who from the board is going to come and do those votes, or whether you are going to sign over the voting rights to VHI and Visbit to vote on your behalf.
Are you going to be there?
I'll be there.
Perfect.
So we make you are.
You have to full motion and then the board has to sign. Yeah.
So I would move we make Lane our proxy appointment to the Visbit and VHI. Is there a third one? What's the third?
There's two for Visbit. One deals with what do you call it? When unemployment insurance. The other deals with how they're managing their overall insurance policies. So there's two for.
Okay, so right. So the motion is we do the two Visbit and the one VHI, and we authorize Lane to
So then,
on our behalf.
do you have a vote as a super and then a vote as a proxy?
Just as the proxy.
Just as the proxy,
Yeah.
okay.
And again, they'll be making decisions about insurance and costs and charges. And so it's a good thing to be a part of.
Dave makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion about Lane being our proxy for VHI and Visbit for both the multi-line program and the unemployment program? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed to Lane being our proxies? Beautiful. I'm just signing at the bottom of this, correct?
Yep. I can fill in the rest.
Acting as a fiduciary.
By all right. Dave, Rural Community School Alliance.
Okay, so I want to correct what I said about your survey. So you sent the survey to the SBA, okay? Right, and they then consolidated all of the answers, right? And so that all of the answers are then posted on the redistricting commission, but not board by board. Okay, so they list 20 different answers to question one, without saying who did them.
Okay,
right?
good.
But I haven't read them yet, but they are there on the redistricting commission if anyone wants to go see what all of the boards have replied. And Elaine's letter is also now on their website, the one that you just submitted. Yeah, they're that we saw in our packet, right? So next Tuesday, the Mount Holly Select Board will meet. And they've asked that at least some of us come to discuss the possibility of them sending a letter to the redistricting commission. And I think Julie was nervous about us all going without having been sort of more officially authorized or approved by the board. Do you want to speak to that, Julie?
My memory was that at the last meeting, I think it was last meeting, we all said that we were comfortable with the resolution or the statement that we had passed, but that until we knew more, we didn't want to take further position. And my feeling is that the language in the statement that we passed, that we sent to the redistricting commission, remains our position, or at least my position. It's what this board voted on. And so my opinion here would be to recommend that the select board make a statement, the same statement, a statement that's similar. The draft that was circulated included a lot of discussion on things and opinion on things that I don't believe we voted on, and I think was not consistent with the kind of our decision to wait to know more. So that was my feeling there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say that some people on the select board were asking about whether Mount Holly should go toward Rutland, even if the rest of the district goes toward, and I guess I toward Springfield. And to me, I don't think, I think we took our position as a board. And if they want to say something, of course, we're not going to stop them from saying it, but I don't think we would recommend that they make any statement about who we ought to merge with or who should do what. My only thought was that they might want to add more explanation as to why they think it's important that we retain local control of the schools. And I had sent around a short draft. Just take it. And they're not good. The select board members are not good at drafting anything. So they were asking for help writing a statement, even after they saw what we had approved. And so I thought maybe something like this. Something say, we were proud of our Mount Holly school. It provides an excellent education to our students with above average test scores and below average costs. Local control of the school has helped make it so successful. Many Mount Holly residents retain their connection with the school, and it's an important part of our community. We ask any plan you recommend to the legislature maintain this local control. Any merger of our district with other districts would significantly reduce our ability to ensure continued access and diminish community support for the school. We have no objection to enlarging the supervisory union if the enlarged supervisory union can provide the same level of services we have received in the past at a lower cost. And so while there are more words there than we had in our previous resolution, I don't think
I think it maintains the integrity of what we said last time. I think, Julie, do you feel better about that? And then I have a comment if you're good.
I'd like to hear from others, I guess, before I'm still thinking through. I didn't see, was the text of that attached to the agenda?
No, because we didn't have it, correct?
Okay.
Right. So I guess here's what I recall from our meeting is something similar to what Dave just said, that we are not happy with any of the possibilities, but that if it's inevitable, we would prefer it to be at the higher level so that we can maintain as much local control as we can. That being said, I have heard from a handful of people who were either at the selectmen's meeting or who have watched it and are now very confused and upset and think that the school board has made a position that we have not made. And so I want to be really clear when we go in and do outreach like this, that that we remember that people who we're talking to often don't know as much as we know. And sometimes we talk from the standpoint that everybody knows what we know. We know a lot more because we're here, we're more invested in this particular conversation. And so I think there's a handful of people in Mount Holly that are upset with the board and a decision that was made that we didn't even make, that we won't make, the state will make. But there are people who are feeling like we're going to force either a separation of our current structure, which we're not, or that we're going to choose all of the kids go to Green Mountain, not Mill River, and we're taking away school choice. And there's a lot of animosity about that, which none of it is true. We at this point don't have any control over any of those decisions, and any of those decisions that would be made at this point are going to be made at the state level. And what we're asking for from the select board would be a statement that they would be willing to make that says something along the lines of, we want to keep local control and any mergers should be at the highest level possible, and only if we're going to see a benefit from our taxes and better outcomes for our students. And historically, we know that they've promised those things and haven't materialized. I had put in my phone last meeting that the selectmen's meeting was last night, and I went, but there was no meeting because it's next Tuesday. And my hope is that I can go and clarify some of the misconceptions. But that is where that is what I know at this point. Julie?
I think in light of that, and I think this is a sufficiently sort of technical and complicated area, my vote would be to not stoke further sort of incomplete information among people who aren't as keyed into this as we are. And I guess I'm just not sure why, knowing it, like, there's nothing right now that we are mobilizing around because we don't know what is going to happen. So to me, I wonder, I don't know if I'm comfortable voting to support any language or any statement on behalf of me as a school board member. I'm just not sure we're ready for that kind of engagement. I mean, unless municipal bodies are being asked to also weigh in. It seems like there's we don't even have a proposal of what might potentially happen here. So it almost seems like we are advocating for a position that we don't know what it is. And I just think that that's going to lead to confusion and concern.
I think the one thing is that I agree, that we should not put the cart before the horse. And I certainly don't think that we should take any positions along the lines of, we want to merge with Mill River, or we want to merge with this district. But I think that now is the time to have our voices heard before decisions are made. And so if there is a position that we can all mobilize around, it would be the position that we all agreed on, which was keep the power in the local districts. And I think that's what Dave's statement essentially says. There's nothing about merging with Mill River or another district. It's basically just saying that we want to keep local power in the local districts. And I think that there is merit to kind of mobilizing around that message and spreading that message. And certainly if there's animosity coming from the community towards the board, to clear that up, that we're not the enemy, we're not the ones that made these decisions.
It might help, to address that issue, select board, we could suggest adding something about maintaining school choice, pointing out that the majority of Mount Holly secondary students go to Mill River now, which is outside of our district, and it's important to people in town that they maintain the ability to choose their high school. I think a lot of that was included in Lane's letter after you had your forums, right? That people, if parents work in Rutland, right, they want their kids to go that direction. If they work in Springfield or and so without. Again, I don't know if it would help with the concerns you were hearing. If the letter was saying that, we could take out the part about enlarging the supervisory union, right? If we wanted to.
I think what people are, and so in addition to all of the confusion that I heard 2 weeks ago, in the meantime, there's also new information about the first draft of the state's
CTE based.
the CTE based map, which of course has Mount Holly going toward River Valley, however that looks. And even that isn't decided. So my fear is a couple of things. I feel like I think our message needs to be right now, we want to voice our opinion about what we would like, but ultimately the state is going to tell us what we get. I can go to the Sears catalog and circle all the things I want, but Santa brings what he brings. I think we have to do a little bit of damage control before we get too involved in detail. And I think now is probably the time to ask the select board to, as a stakeholder in our community, to say they would like to maintain as much local control as possible. And if we're going to merge supervisory unions, it would be at the, what did I say? Only if better outcomes and lower taxes. And I think keep it very generic and very simple, because we aren't
in a place where we can talk about what the state is going to decide for us. It's not, it's really not going to be in our hands. We can voice our opinion all we want, and I think we should. I think we should be loud about it, but in the end, the state is going to make the final decisions. It's not like when we did this before and we were, the state was telling us, you've got to do something and you get to pick the something you do. Now the state's going to tell us what we're going to do. I mean, unless people are reading other things that I don't know about.
The one piece to add to the conversation is I would have due consideration about whether what is presented potentially to the select board is done verbally in person versus in writing. I think if it's well thought out, I think if it's done in writing, there's a lot less chance of confusion. At least from my experience. So just a thought that
I don't know that the selectmen were the one, I didn't hear from any of the selectmen. It was the people at the meeting and the people who watched the meeting later that voiced their concerns to me. And I mean, it was only a handful of people. There could have been 300 people out there that watched it, and though they may feel perfectly clear about it. Oh, of course, the people who came to me were upset. And that's the nature of how life works. I would love if, Dave, you wanted to prepare something that was, well, I don't know that we can do that though, because time-wise. What are people thinking?
I think it's important to make a statement. I just don't think that we should have specifics like naming districts or anything like that.
But should we say something about school choice?
What are your 3 principles that you want to get across that you believe in?
3 things.
Because that's what I heard was 3 different things, right?
Mm-hmm. Maintain local control.
School choice.
School choice, and then what was the third?
And we don't know what the heck is going to happen because the state's going to determine it. It's not in our control. But we feel that we need to speak now.
Yeah.
So would the board support me going to another meeting? And saying these are the 3 principles that we would like to see. And if the select board is so inclined that they are willing to write a statement and who they should send it to, is that okay with the board?
I like the simplicity of the 3 items.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the 3 items we're agreeing on are choice.
Local voice.
Local control.
Local control.
Overturning Act 73.
And we don't really have we don't have a lot of choice in what happens. The state's going to decide.
And is the third thing only if?
I don't think we should get into only ifs. I think.
Agreed.
Take out the whole thing about enlarging supervisory unions.
Yes.
All right, so then what's our third thing?
Just make sure they understand it's out of our control.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So it wouldn't be in their statement, but.
And like many things, their grievance is not with their local school board, but with.
All right, so.
The state.
And I
wait,
would.
can I
yeah.
As a point of clarity, when we say the state, my understanding is it's the legislature that will be voting on these maps, which means, and the legislature, possibly in committee, will have influence over, all of the horse trading that I assume will ensue once the redistricting task force makes a recommendation. So the task force is not deciding what becomes the law. It is the legislature in the next session that will come up with a map and take a vote on it. And so my thought is, sure, we can make statements to possibly influence the redistricting task force's work. I think that the real advocacy on behalf of our district will come when this thing gets before the legislature, is my assessment of the procedure here. So I think we are, I guess it's important in the initial formulation to take the position that we are talking about tonight. But I also think that I can imagine that there will be much more advocacy to be done when the legislature is in session.
I think I agree with that completely. I do think that there'll be some number of people in the legislature who won't want to dive in and start monkeying with the recommendations. And if they get 3 recommendations from the commission, a lot of them will want to say, pick 1, 2, or 3 and not, 7B.
Yeah, that's my fear as well. That a lot of the power is going to be, the ultimate decision is going to be made much later, and that's important as well. But I think Dave's right. I think whatever gets presented to them, they're going to pick one of them. They're not going to tweak it. But again, we can't predict the future.
They also, and to Julie's point, the advocacy is going to be important because they also have the ability to change the law.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's not just that they have to choose. They don't. They could do nothing, but they could also choose to change how the law is written and what it requires.
So just to clarify, I will go, and anybody else on the board who wants to go, Dave, you didn't get us on the agenda, correct? You did.
I'll double check.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that, I don't think they've circulated the agenda, but they said they would put it on the agenda.
Okay, so as an agenda item on the select board, we think, otherwise during public comment, I will say simply that we would love for the school or for the select board to make a statement as a stakeholder in what happens to our community, that they are in support of school choice and local control. And if they're willing to make that statement, we'll give them the information about who to make it to. And then I will try to clarify that while we have an opinion about all of this, the decisions are really out of our control as a school board. They will be made at the state level, and that state level right now is an 11-person committee having 8 meetings. And those committee meetings will then propose up to 3 scenarios, and the legislature is likely to take action on one of those 3 scenarios that haven't been determined. One has been publicly presented, and people can go online and read that. But that has nothing to do with our school board. Oh, it has everything to do with our school board. We just didn't get any say in it. Does that seem like what everybody is hearing?
Well said.
That sounds
Yes.
good. Also,
I'm wondering if we ought to amend our statement that we made to the redistricting task force to include our support for continuing school choice. That wasn't part of what we initially said.
Right. Is that something we're able to do, Dave?
Well, sure. I mean,
A separate resolution?
We're going to do a new resolution,
Yeah.
right?
well, at the same time, so Act 73 is not going, or supposedly not going to get rid of school choice. They're just going to change how independent schools receive funding.
They were going to restrict, it restricts a little bit more, or prevents more students from being able to go to independent schools with public funds.
I mean, if they were to merge our district, even to make our supervisory in one district, then school choice would be gone. Because Green Mountain High School would be in our district.
Right. That's the way I understand it. But again,
we don't know what they're gonna.
We don't know.
What they're gonna write.
Right. We can't predict what they think. All right.
Tuesday, just so you're aware, is negotiations. That's what usually happens. The reason I don't attend is because their meeting is.
Yeah. All right. So that's a plan for that. Where'd we leave it? All right, policies reviewed at this meeting. We approved all of Series A and Series B. We'll look at Series C next time for approval, and we'll look at Series D for clarifying questions. Any other policy business that we need to review?
Sorry, just going back to the last item, where did we land on amending the letter that we already sent?
Sorry, you're right. Is that something we can do?
Sure, I mean, we did this, it's just, we made a resolution, we can make a new resolution.
Right.
And I wouldn't.
We would have to vote on it at the next board meeting though, so, yeah.
So shall I mean, I can write an amended, we'll put it on our agenda for next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that back, Julie. Public comment. Hearing none. All right, so our next meeting will be November 12th in Mount Holly. There's no conflict. That's not a holiday, right?
No, it's a Wednesday, so.
So it can't be a holiday, isn't it? Well,
It's
yeah, you have to make one the holiday.
It's not the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Right, yeah, I know, I'm just saying all the things.
Everything else is a Monday now.
Yeah, okay. So we'll meet in Mount Holly on November 12th. Self-evaluation, and then we will have executive session. Board members are given and have read the agenda and background materials prior to the meeting. Board members are respectful of each other, the public and the administration.
Yes.
Board members handled conflict openly and constructively.
Julie vote no.
I know, and we all loved it. Board members focus on the role and responsibility of the board. And board members act as a team once a decision has been made, and we work collaboratively throughout the decision-making process.
Yep.
All right, yay. Then I would entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel.
So
It's gonna be one session, or does it have to be two
It's going to
sessions?
be two.
technically, it should be two. You could probably read all three motions that are required at once. And the goal is just making sure it's clear to the community what you're going in for.
Okay. So do you have them there?
So this is the basics of the motion for the personnel, the public employee one.
Right.
And these are the two that would go along with the labor negotiations.
Okay, so I would look for a motion to enter executive session, VSA 313.3, the employment of a public employee. And also, I move that the board determine that premature public disclosure of discussions concerning the support staff contract would significantly disadvantage the board. And I further move that the board enter into executive session pursuant to 1 BSA 313A1B for the purpose of discussing labor negotiations related to the support staff contract. So it would be a personnel and support staff contract.
And you want to invite Cheryl and I.
And we're going to invite Cheryl and Lane.
So moved.
Anybody want to second it? Thank you, Jen. All those in favor of entering executive session?
Aye.
Anybody?
Aye.
I assume your aye was just a late one. You're not opposed, right, Julie?
I am not opposed. I support this.
Thank you. All right, so we will clear the
Time.
8:29. She might be, I don't know how to tell him.
So you're recording.
Okay, so we are back from executive session at 9:01. And with regard to the personnel discussion, there is no action. And with regard to the negotiations, does somebody want to make a motion?
Yes, I make a motion that the board approve the September 30th memorandum of agreement between the Ludlow-Mount Holly District and the Educational Support Personnel Bargaining Union, contingent on the parties striking the 3 bullets under paragraph 3 on page 1 of the MOA and attach the wage schedule referenced in the agreement, attachment A.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of Julie's beautifully stated motion? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
No, and this is Caitlin Benson. I'm just going to refrain from voting due to a conflict.
Thank you. All right. That's it. I think we're there. Somebody want to make the other motion?
Move we adjourn.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Thanks, everybody.
Bye, folks.